Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another video and episode. So we are living through relatively very strange times. We're living through a time period where when it comes to the unemployment, labor, job market, and everything in that particular world, we are now starting to shockingly see relative level of signs of improvement. However, with that being said, we are also seeing signs of declining in certain other areas within the job market, just depending on where you look, and also very dependent on the specific industry that we are talking about right now. So in today's video, what I really want to talk about is basically everything related to unemployment, related to the job market, how things are going, because the recent job numbers did come out. They came out in June of 2000, and so this particular month, if you're watching this on release day, in reference to the last month, and because at the end of the day, this is actually really important because it's going to impact a lot of areas of the economy, even if you don't necessarily care about unemployment, which you hopefully do, because if you clicked on this video, you hopefully do care about unemployment. But even beyond unemployment, there's a lot of things that are going to be impacted, such as like the overall economy, inflation, the recession, because if unemployment is doing very well, it also does mean that inflation is probably also going to do well, or not that it's going to do well, but it's also going to go up because people have more money to spend, therefore driving up prices even further than what they already currently are. But of course, in today's video, we're going to talk all about this. So with that being said, let's just get this video started. But as always, you guys know the same drill. Remember to, if you guys want to share some support, remember to smash the like button, consider subscribing, hitting the bell for similar videos, and as always, feel free to leave a comment about honestly questions, thoughts, or if you wanted to say hello. It is always great to hear from you guys. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So as just mentioned, the recent jobs report did recently come out. It was released in May, early of June 2023, but in reference to May of 2023. And so what they really found out, according to a lot of the numbers that they calculated, is that about 339,000 jobs were added, much higher than the anticipated 190,000 jobs that they thought were going to be added. So they really added a lot of jobs. However, there's more to it than the statistics shows, which we're going to talk about, so definitely stay tuned in a little bit. But the big idea is that the unemployment rate did, however, rise to 3.7% compared to the estimate of 3.5%, which is the highest it's been since October of 2022, with most jobs being added in the business services, the government, and the healthcare sector. Wages did increase by 4.3%, but again, keep in mind this is all very super industry dependent, because there are some industries where decline did happen, such as like in self-employment. So in other words, what this really means is that there's less people becoming self-employed. There are also a lot of other industries that obviously have been impacted, and it's been breaking news, such as like in tech, in certain areas of entertainment. I speak from experience because I work, as most of you guys know, in the film industry outside of this, so that's why I'm pretty relatively aware from just personal experiences as well about how my industry in particular has also been seeing a lot of decline in jobs. But the big idea is that it just really depends on the specific industry that you're talking about. Feel free to comment if you guys have any personal experience about what it's like in your particular industry, because the statistics can sometimes be not misleading, but sometimes they can be a little bit all over the place. And that sometimes at the end of the day, the most important information is always going to come from the people living in those particular times, really physically experiencing it right now at this time. So the really great news to share is that they did add a lot more jobs. However, with that being, and also the other great news is that the unemployment rate is still pretty reasonable at the end of the day. However, the not so great news really is the fact that it's because unemployment is getting better, it also is not going to favor them trying to control inflation and the recession situation that's really happening, because it's going to lead to a lot of imbalance inside of our labor and our economy and overall just markets in general. So this is definitely going to impact a lot of areas of the recession, and also a lot of areas of what they do with the inflation. Because keep in mind, remember, as just mentioned, is that as unemployment goes up, it shows that the job market is getting a lot better. But if people have more money to physically spend because they're working, it also does mean that the inflation situation is going to go up even higher, because it means that people have more money to spend, therefore things are going to get even more expensive because more things are going to be bought. In other words, what this really means, and it goes back back to a lot of past videos that we've talked about, is that in order for them to control the inflation situation, the markets have to tank and drop. And so if they don't necessarily drop per se, then it means that the unemployment or the inflation situation is not necessarily going to get particularly better if that ends up becoming the case. Because right now at this time, the job market appears to be relatively doing well, but however going back is that these numbers can be very, very relatively, not necessarily misleading, but just very, very skewed in the sense that they might change the formula, how they use to calculate these numbers. They're also very biased because a lot of times they're based off of surveys that people physically write down, so they might be able to, skew some of the data there and there. There's a reason why every single month after the month that these numbers come out, there's always something you guys might have already heard of called the adjusted numbers, which is basically where they look at these numbers and then they adjust them again to make them even more accurate as much as they possibly can be. And that's really what's going on into impacting everything that's happening right now with inflation, with the recession, with the job market, and with everything going on in that particular world. Now, in terms of what does this actually mean specifically for us and how this is going to impact everything that's going on. So in just personal thoughts, and I guess this is the more heart-to-heart kind of side of the video, is that we do see a lot of improvements inside of how the labor market is doing right now. They're adding more jobs. However, I don't necessarily see it from personal experience. This might maybe be because of the industry that I work in, because my industry is not doing very, very particularly well, again, because I work outside of, doing this. But I don't necessarily see it doing particularly well outside of that. But of course, also the other big thing is that going back is that this is very, very industry specific, because there probably are other industries that are doing relatively well that shadow the industries that are not necessarily doing particularly well. And it's also important to notice is that a lot of this is also talking about jobs that are being added, but not necessarily about jobs being filled. So it's very possible that they're also adding a lot of new jobs, but that there's a discrepancy between the jobs that they've added and then the actual specific unemployed workers and the jobs that they're looking for in the industry that they actually are looking for. In other words, is that they're not necessarily all being filled, and that's the reason why you might be wondering why the unemployment rate is going up despite the fact that they've added more jobs. And that's exactly the reason why. It's because of this discrepancy. A perfect example, if this is still a little confusing, is, for example, like they can potentially be adding maybe 50,000 jobs in they could be adding 50,000 jobs, but all of those jobs are in healthcare, whereas a lot of the people unemployed are people inside of industries such as like tech, entertainment, which is actually very realistic reflection because there are a lot of people in the tech industry getting laid off at this time. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy because the jobs that are being added do not necessarily align with the skill sets of the jobs that people are actually physically looking for. And this is what's kind of leading to a lot of this imbalance that's going on inside of the job market right now at this particular time period. So this is just some personal thoughts about this. Now, what do I see going forward from here is that I think right now we are seeing some improvement inside on paper. However, I don't necessarily see that happening in real life. This could, again, going back, could be maybe because of the specific industry that I work in. However, all of this stuff is going to impact a lot of stuff in inflation, because if the unemployment, if they continue to add more jobs, which is a good thing because it's always nice to have more jobs, but if the unemployment rate goes up, it's very, very possible that it can go up even further if we really do fall into some kind of recession going on. Additionally, on top of that, the other big thing is that a lot of this stuff can change really, really quickly at any particular time. It's very possible we suddenly see a U-turn where they start adding a lot less jobs, or they start realizing that many of these jobs, going back, the discrepancy is very true, where they don't necessarily have actually as many jobs being added relative to the skill sets of the people that are looking for the jobs that are out in the market. And I think a lot of this is going to potentially impact everything about how things really just unfold going forward from here. And of course, what ends up happening, we're gonna have to see in one of the future episodes of The Kevin Show. So with that being said, if you guys made it to the end, thank you guys for watching. You know, this is the end. Feel free to leave a comment, suggestions, comments about honestly anything. It's always greatly appreciated. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.